everyone, Malachi here. So as you just saw, I now have a new video intro. I know it's not quite the best, but it's at least okay for now. Plus, what you just saw is going to be more of a template. Whatever that sore jack of me is pointing to, courtesy of some Sleep Token fanboy that I was arguing with on Facebook, will change depending on the topic of the video. But like I said, what you just saw is going to be the template. So with all that out of the way, let's get on with this video. So recently I saw a couple videos here on YouTube about a situation that happened at a major Yu-Gi-Oh event a while back. Basically, pro player Jesse Cotton was on live stream kicking the shit out of a child. Just set up his firewall loop, no problem, and the poor kid had no idea what was even going on. I'll link those two videos that I saw in the description, but hearing what happened there kind of reminded me of what happened to me at my first tournament ever. Yep, way before I even thought about getting into Magic, I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh! I got into it when I was 5, around 2002, kind of took a break in early middle school, and then picked it back up when I was 13, which is where this story I'm about to tell takes place. Roughly late 2010, right after the ban list that ended what we now know as Edison format. Now, one thing that's similar between my story and the aforementioned story that inspired this video is that both situations had an age difference involved. And although pro player Jesse Cotton was an 18-year-old going up against a apparently 10-year-old, in my scenario, 13-year-old me was going up against someone who was probably in his late 30s, early 40s. You know, someone with an actual source of income. Whereas at the time, my only source of income was just returning pop cans that my parents gave me. So with the two monetary issues at play, you're probably wondering, what kind of decks were both of you playing? Well, my financial situation made me have to play the most powerful archetype of all. Whatever I liked from the shitty collection that I could afford. But my opponent had the one card that could defeat my entire strategy. The bank card. Which showed in the Black Wings deck that he used to fucking mollywop the absolute shit out of me with. Yeah, first tournament ever, and I get paired against one of, if not the best decks of the time. You know, similar to that kid who went up against Jesse Cotton on that live stream. I was as much of a deer in the headlights as that poor child when I saw my opponent swarming the field with Black Wings, summoning a bunch of bullshit from his extra deck, and all I could play was just a few cards that didn't do shit. I don't remember exactly what I had in my deck, but I did know that my extra deck only had one card, a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Unfortunately, I didn't have an actual Cyber Dragon in my main deck, I just had a Proto Cyber Dragon. Also, I was playing without a side deck. Yeah, that's how much of a noob I was. I should also note this was a time before I found out about online forums dedicated to discussing the meta, before I even knew what a fucking meta was in the first place, and before I even knew the concept of a staple card. I didn't even find out about online duel simulators until the following summer, back when Dueling Book was Dueling Network. So yeah, I was definitely out of my element going even to a locals, and I was definitely put in my place during that first round. But in between the first and second round is where things got a little more bullshit. Because even a pro player like Jesse Cotton had the courtesy to not have to side anything in during that match. But my opponent apparently thought otherwise. I don't even know what he sided in, but again, I didn't even have a side deck to begin with, so what was the point? On top of that, any kind of answers I may have had to anything was probably like a Mystical Space Typhoon and a Mirror Force. Or even worse, I think it was a Sakuretsu armor instead. But, well, second verse, same as the first. Round 2, he swarmed the field with Black Wings and kicked my ass. And then after that match, I ended up going home, but not out of embarrassment or anything. So, since this was my first tournament, I wasn't aware that there were Swiss rounds. So instead, I thought you were just entered into a bracket, and then once you lost, you were just eliminated from the tournament. So if anything, I left out of ignorance. Fast forward a year later, and I ended up entering another tournament at a local card shop closer to me. This time with the knowledge gained specifically from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Guide forums, along with the experience I've gained from playing on Dueling Network long enough. I mean, I still got my ass handed to me because I was a broke-ass 14-year-old, but despite the financial setbacks I was still facing at the time, I still managed to scrape up enough to make a poor man's Blackwing deck. Ironically funny how a year later I ended up playing Blackwings. But at the time I was also switching between Blackwings and Zombies, and at the time my Blackwings deck was just ready, so I said screw it. Now, before I go, I would like to mention that a few years later, when I started getting into the modern scene in Magic, I kind of found myself at the opposite end of this. Now, this happened during the summer of 2016, and I was playing Infect, when at the time that was one of the better meta decks in Modern. And at my locals, I ended up paired up against this kid who was probably no older than 12, playing a pile of stuff that he liked that he could afford. The poor kid got so confused at first when I was trying to explain poison counters to him. In a way, that's kind of like me passing down that torch to the next generation of younger duelists that was passed down to me when I was younger. But I still kind of feel like shit because I could tell the poor kid was just having a bad time. And yes, I even did sideboard like a dick. But point is, either way, I'm sure we've all been on both sides of this situation. And I'll open this up to you watching. If you've been on the receiving end of an ass kicking at your locals for your first tournament ever, comment down below. I want to hear about it. Or, I guess, read about it. But with all that out of the way, I think I'm just going to wrap it up right here. I know you usually talk about Magic, but I figured I'd mix it up a bit for at least this video. Especially since I've been slowly kind of getting back into watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, although I still have no desire to get back into the game at this point. Though if I did, I'd probably just stick with GOAT and Edison format, just purely out of nostalgia. And as per usual, if you like the music playing, check out my band Dark Eater. We're on Spotify, Pandora, and social medias like Facebook and Instagram. I'm slowly using this band as a front to just keep posting Magic content on Facebook and shit. So, stay up to date for more Magic pack openings whenever we play shows. We're supposed to open up for Vader soon, so I'm thinking maybe some Modern Horizons 3 or, I don't know, Lorwyn Eclipse. I don't know, but what do you guys think? Go ahead and let me know down below. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed what you were hearing today, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my dumb ramblings. Usually it's about Magic, but I try to mix it up every once in a while, like in this video. I have a D&D storytime video planned in the near future, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I've been Malachi, and I will see you next time.